Kill those fans. We are live, folks. Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live call-in show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on a 3.com. Today is Sunday, May the 18th, 2025, and we have a fantastic show for you. You know how I know it's a fantastic show? Because we're going to let you, the callers, the fans, the members, dictate what it is that we want to talk about. We'll obviously talk about some things when it comes to recruiting. Auburn had a huge recruiting weekend this weekend, yes. 13 official visitors, a couple of five-star guys in the group, some absolute top targets for the Tigers. We talked to them all on Sunday. We'll get to that, and we'll talk some whatever you want to talk about. 701-779-9585. Here to do it with me, as they always are 100% of the time when they're here. They're freaking here, man. Mr. Cole Pinkston, Sir Alan Head. How about you, boys?
How about you?
How are y'all feeling, man? Are y'all worn out? I mean,
Cole put it in this weekend now.
No doubt.
He put it in.
Yeah, I've kind of been all over the place.
The work. He put the work in.
I've been traveling and all over the place, so I figured let me go get in there. I'm just going to get in there.
Ain't that a good way to do it? Just to get back into things, just go get in it.
Well, it was a good weekend to do it, man, because it was crawling. I mean, I've seen official visit weekends, and you know, you were talking about it, Jeffrey, today, how it was at one time, how they used to do it. They'd have like 20 guys.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it that way. I've seen maybe 6, 7 at the most, 8.
Yeah.
13 was like, that's a big number, man. There's guys everywhere.
It is. And I thought not just 13, but I mean, those were some studs in that group. You're talking 2 5-star edges, Tank Jones, Trenton Henderson. Trenton Henderson recently named a 5-star by 24/7. Yes. That counts in my eyes. Then you had 2 running backs, Derek Cooper and Jay Lamar, top 10 running backs. You had defensive lineman Ernest Rankings, Bryce Perry Wright. Who was the other one? Vodney Cleveland. Yes. You had C.J. Hester and Brody Jennings in the defensive backfield. You had Adam Balagoon Ali at linebacker. Dalton Toothman, Dominic Harris. Was there another Deron Doodles Parks?
Yeah.
I mean, there was some really, really high tier 1 guys in Auburn this weekend, and a lot of them had glowing reviews. I mean, I guess all of them did, really. We've covered them all. We'll have all of them done up tomorrow by lunchtime, but some of the bigger ones are already up on Auburn Live on 3. If you haven't already, go check it out. But, hey, before we go any farther, I want to say if you're in or around Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, and you're looking for some real estate help, now is the time to do it, folks. Getting out for the summer, making those moves before those kiddos get back in school in the fall, man. Look no further for some real estate help with Jessica Andrus and the Talents Group. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. A lot of freaking 4s in that number, by George, but she's a freaking 5-star realtor. If you don't believe me, just ask me. They make shirts about her, dude. Make shirts about her. She's fantastic. I've watched her do it all weekend long. She's been on the phone making deals, walking her client. This is the funnest thing to do about her for me. I get to see her like know the business and know what to kind of counter with or know what to offer with her. It's very interesting to know and to see somebody with her experience and knowledge of the trade really help her clients out. Give her a call, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you. All right. I tell you what, before we get to the phone lines, Cole and Alan, I want to hear your perspective from, as an outsider, kind of looking in. But we'll start with Cole. What did you take? You were up there all weekend, Cole. You got the vibe from Friday morning to Sunday afternoon. What were some of the things, some of the guys that maybe stood out to you that really caught your attention or you thought was worth noting?
I guess you start with Dalton Toothman. I have a prediction in for him to Auburn. I feel pretty good about that. I feel even better about it now talking to him, watching him this weekend. I thought it was interesting. He mentioned, he's got a Clemson OV. He mentioned Florida State's pushing to get him in for an OV. Starting to get some buzz. I think Auburn wants to close the door on that. I think they really put in the work for that this weekend. I think they're going to get it done. Deron Parks, every time we talk to him, it just seems like he's glowing about Auburn. I'm not so sure he's not, just me personally, the number 1 O-lineman Auburn should get, in my opinion. I think he's that good. I think he's built for it. SEC build, NFL build, that kind of guy. And I think Auburn got on him early, and you can see that meant something to him. The DBs I thought were interesting because that's where I'm like, I don't know anything about you guys. I don't know anything about that room and that board. Brody Jennings, a Michigan commit. That's a big deal from Florida. Thought there was a lot of guys from the state of Florida, which was interesting. Trenton Henderson. We talked about this. That's a state we've wanted Auburn to get back into, and I think they're starting to climb right back into it. So, Tank Jones, I continue to think that Auburn is trending up there. Rock Bellantoni has a big impact on him, and definitely Trenton Henderson. He mentioned that several times. The running backs.
Yeah.
We've kind of counted Auburn out for these big time running backs. Jay Lamar, Derek Cooper. I feel maybe a little bit better about where they stand with Jay Lamar.
I think that's fair.
Not sure about Derek Cooper.
I think that's fair too.
Yeah.
Hey, before you move on, Cole, you mentioned Brody Jennings. I'm going to tell you, of the guys that I talked to face to face, which is probably a little more than half of them today, I thought body language, tone, cadence, and the things that he said was more impressed, or it was like Auburn really made a big impression on him.
I'm going to steal a quote, Jeffrey, that I think you put in there, and this will probably drive what you're saying home. My family loved Auburn. We talk about it on this show all the time. Who's the decision maker? And I think this is a young man whose family probably would like to see him play a little bit closer to home than, say, Michigan.
He's from Jacksonville, Florida, by the way.
Yes. So I found that to be really intriguing, and I thought that was a really good piece, for you to segment that out. Because for those that don't know, look, guys, they take a transcriber up there. They're getting, they're recording these interviews live, and then they pick this apart and put their stories together. So I thought that was a really nice piece for you to get that live on tape and then to be able to transcribe that and put that into your story, because it kind of gives you a full picture of what we talk about as far as things in recruiting that make a difference, and proximity to home still plays a difference, particularly when you talk about family members.
He's got a couple of good quotes. I'm sorry, Cole. Let me get this, because I was really taken aback by some things and the emphasis that he put on it. He started out by saying, I like Auburn a lot. And then he corrected himself and says, no, I love Auburn a lot. My family loves Auburn a lot. My dad went to college. My brother went to college. And both of them said this checks all the boxes, that this is a place that this is a place for me. Knowing that they said it checked all the boxes, that this is a college that I'm built for and I could go to. It's great. I definitely fit here. A lot of just quotes like that was like, man, this dude, Auburn's in it. Like, flip prospect.
Yes.
Potential. Absolutely, for Michigan here.
Yeah, I was going to say, going along with the family thing, just some nuggets that just from being there. Deron Parks' dad was leaving. Jeffrey, remember this?
He tried to 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, right. And he said to us, he's like, I'll see y'all next time. And there will be a next time. Something like that. Like,
yeah.
And Jay Lamar was upstairs. His family was trying to leave. They're like, you better come on. You're going to get left. He goes, I'll stay here. That's fine. So, stuff like that, man. It's just, we talked about the family thing and that aspect. And like you said, Alan, I've heard somebody on this staff before tell me directly, they're like, look, this weekend's about the family.
Yes.
Kids important, obviously, but we got to make sure their family feels comfortable here. That is number one.
I mean, it's making a family comfortable where their son is still going to spend an amount of time. Now, we don't, in this transfer portal era, right? We don't know how long that time is going to be, but for freshmen, like this is your 18, 17-year-old son that you're contemplating sending to college. They're going to ultimately help that child make a decision, and they are still a child, regardless of the money that gets paid and the things, how college football is being professionalized now. These are 17 and 18-year-old children. Okay?
16, 17 at this point.
Yes, 16, 17-year-old children. So while you're right that the kid making the decision, definitely you have to sell him on what you're trying to accomplish. But if mom and dad don't see this as a place that they can see you being and they know you're going to be taken care of, you're probably not going to land that recruit. And I think you guys have done a really great job of capturing that piece in each of these stories that you put up.
Going into the weekend, I said Auburn had to make the biggest moves with 3 guys, the 2 running backs, Derek Cooper, Jay Lamar, and Vodney Cleveland. Vodney Cleveland's the guy we haven't talked. Now, listen, we're going to have another recruiting show Tuesday night or Wednesday night. We're going to cover all this a lot more in depth, so I don't want to like harp on everything too much. But Vodney Cleveland was another. We talked about Jay Lamar and we talked about Derek Cooper. Vodney Cleveland, who will have out more in-depth story on him either tonight or in the morning. But he said, going into the weekend, I felt like we all did. I mean, Auburn has some ground to make up with this kid. And he left and basically said, Auburn's moved in my tier 1 schools. And what did he say, Cole? They're gunning for number 1?
Gunning for the number 1 spot is what he said. And we'll have that out soon, maybe tonight, maybe in the morning. Listen, I've talked to Vodney Cleveland more than I've talked to anybody there, like for years now. I went and saw him at Prattville when he was like in 10th grade. I've never heard more than 2 words out of the guy. He talked a lot this time.
He gave a good interview.
He did, and I thought that was interesting too. There's a lot of interesting takeaways. I hope people have some questions for us because sometimes I need a question to like remember something.
Yeah, right.
No, I hear you.
Looking back over the headlines, arguably the biggest recruiting news out of the weekend didn't even have to do with the OVs. If you'll remember, was it Friday night? Zion Ely, the number 1 overall recruit in the country, releases his OV picks from the week before.
Yes.
Which was very surprising.
Given a little bit of what I know, that was definitely surprising that got out.
And that he volunteered it.
Yes.
Well, once he does it, it's over.
It's over. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, he's free to discuss at that point, right? It's kind of like your Romela Heights story that you had to sit on for all those years when you saw him in the elevator.
Well, he knew. Look, he's like, well, nothing. It's already happened. So, what are you going to do now, right?
No, nothing you're going to do. But as far as takeaways for me, I thought this class is another one where they've done a really good job of identifying prospects early. You talked about Dominic Harris, who's now starting to get attention from an Oregon who recruits nationally. Talked about. Go ahead.
I was saying he's blowing up.
Yes,
Dominic Harris.
You talked about Dalton, the Dennis Toothman. Now with his Florida State interest, Clemson is obviously in there, and they've been on him for a while. Interesting tie there with Matt Luke being the offensive line coach, one-time offensive line coach for Hugh Freeze. So I think that'll be an interesting recruiting battle, but I'm with you. I think they can get that one done. And Deron Parks, I mean, that was the one I got a text this weekend. In fact, in real time, it was like, look, man, he's impressive on the hoop. Like the person that saw him they didn't realize how large of a human being he was.
He is.
So premium positions, you also had pass rushers there, Tank Jones, Trenton Henderson. Those are massive targets for Rock Bellantoni in this class. I think I like a little bit better the sitting with Trenton Henderson right now than I do with Tank, but I think this staff feels like they can get Tank Jones in the end. I don't think it's going to be a recruitment that's going to end in the month of July or anything, but I think in the end they think they can land him. And then defensive line. You talked about Vodney Cleveland already. I'm interested to see what Ernest Rankins has to say. Yep. He's another big piece. Bryce Perry-Wright is also a very interesting target. Did Auburn make any ground with him? And then Jay Lamar and Derek Cooper. Over and over, we've talked about not knowing where Auburn sits on the running back board with several of their top-end targets. And these are 2 of the highest targets. And I really was impressed with what Jay said and the ground that Derek Nix was able to kind of make. It feels like this weekend, it felt like this was a visit that Auburn needed to get back in the game with him. It felt like it was a visit they needed to have happen to shift momentum. And now it will be about what Cole talked about 3 shows ago, where he said, you know what, you get them on campus, you set the standard, and then you play the long play on this one. You need to show progress over the course of the season, how you're going to use running backs, where he would be featured, and the fact that you're going to have playing time. And then you make your absolute best offer as close as you can to signing day. You want a head turn on that one.
It's like the tournament in basketball. You got to peak then.
Yes.
It ain't about peaking right now.
No.
Right. You lay the groundwork right now. These official visits, a lot of people are like, man, why are they having all these so early? Auburn's the first official visit for almost everybody that was there, if not everybody.
That's the thing you need to keep in mind, folks.
Yeah, and maybe 3-4 years ago, I would have said that's terrible strategy, but now it's different. And it's different because not only the position you're in, but because we know how these things end now. We saw signing day last year and how crazy that week was. And you better peak right there. You don't peak now.
No, well put. I mean, we sat through maybe the longest commitment ceremony of all time at Parker High School.
I got news for you. We might have to be doing that again with Vonnie Cleveland.
Possibly so.
Yeah.
Maybe we can, you know what? Maybe we can work an NIL deal for Jeffrey. You know what I mean? We can get him some free Grizzly wintergreen out of that deal if he's going to sit there that long.
Some Grizzly, I like it.
They need to do a Jessica ad read there or something.
Yeah.
But again, Oregon was not the predicted favorite going into signing day, right? But they made look, they knew who the decision maker was in that recruitment, and they made the best offer, and they did it late in the game and got that one done. So I think if you're looking for models to follow by, you would expect that to be more the standard moving forward in a lot of recruitments, not just, with your 5 stars.
Right.
All right, let's see what old Kevin is up to, Zach. Get old Kevin in here. Let's help balance out this discussion.
Kevin, you're live, man.
Kevin from Wimmer, Alabama.
How about you, buddy? Talk to us, Kevin.
Did London Duckworth visit Auburn this weekend?
He did not. He rescheduled, at least tentatively, for May the 30th. So he did not come in this weekend.
Next weekend?
2 weeks. Auburn's going to, I think most schools will take next weekend off. What is it, Memorial Day, right?
It is. It's Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
So that next week, 2 weeks from Friday week.
May 30th.
There you go.
Who was there this weekend?
Oh, there were 13. We talked about them earlier. We'll start on offense. You had the 2 running backs, Derek Cooper, Jay Lamar. You had offensive lineman Dalton Toothman, Deron Parks, Dominic Harris. Those are your offensive guys. Defense, you had Vonnie Cleveland, Ernest Rankings, Bryce Perry Wright. You had Adam Balagungali, Ollie. You had Brody Jennings, CJ Hester, Tank Jones, and Trenton Henderson.
Yeah.
And don't forget about our wide receiver commit being there this weekend as well. Great. Yeah.
He wasn't there long, but he stopped by.
Where's Cooper from?
The SIP, Mississippi.
Is it Van Cleve, Mississippi? Is that where it's
all right?
Van Cleve. Is that sort of southern Mississippi? I'm not sure. I haven't looked at it yet where it is, but
Let me see.
Hey, what's the latest on Travis Burgess?
Travis Burgess.
Now he's scheduled to come in next May the 30th as well, Kevin. That's why we're doubting that. I doubt Landon Duckworth makes it in that weekend. We'll see if, in fact, Travis Burgess does, because I don't see them bringing in. I know they brought in both of their Van Cleve is down by Mississippi, Pascagoula.
Okay.
Both of their running backs, but I don't think they'll do that with quarterbacks. I really don't. So that's kind of something to keep an eye on over the next 10 days to see which one of those 2 quarterbacks actually confirms their visit. And listen, it might be both of them, but I just don't see that happening. Alan, do you?
No.
I think both of them will come visit.
Okay. Well, that's one. Well, hey, you might be right, Kevin.
I think that could happen.
Okay.
My money's on Burgess.
Alan had, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Kevin. I'm doing really good, buddy. How about you? Did you watch any of the baseball game in the series this weekend, Auburn versus Ole Miss?
Yeah, I loved it. And
You
all
did?
the softball girls did wonderful too.
Did they win the second game against Florida State today?
They did not.
They lost.
They did not. They lost 4-0. Yeah.
Do they have
played their
the
guts out.
rubber match?
That was it. That was Auburn won the opening game 8-3 against Florida State, and then had some opportunities. I think loaded the bases at least on 2 different occasions, and unfortunately couldn't push anything across. And in a pivotal game like that, you got to score, but ended up losing 4-0 in the championship.
Was it double
game.
elimination and Auburn had already lost? Okay.
Yeah, Auburn lost to South Florida, I think, on the opening night, and then had to claw their way back. They won 3 straight before losing that 4th game.
Hat tip to them.
Yeah. With everything they lost in the transfer portal, you're going through a coaching change to make the NCAA tournament, to make a regional, and then to push it to the championship game in that regional. I thought showed a lot of guts by this team, showed some really great coaching. I mean, because you developed some players into hitters that had not really, for whatever the reason, hadn't necessarily developed under Mickey's tutelage. And so it was really good for me to see what the staff was able to do. And now I think the biggest thing for them moving forward is acquiring more talent. And we'll see how good of a recruiters they are now that they've got a full cycle to get that all put together.
I think the baseball team will win a couple games in Hoover Met.
I'm a little worried on the baseball front, Kevin. I'm going to be honest. Not hitting per se. I think that is exactly where you want it to be. But pitching has not, for the last 2 weeks, hasn't looked like it did, your first several weeks of SEC player. That really, pretty much all season. Your starter, and it's Sam Dutton, I believe. Your number one ace has not looked good 2 straight weeks in a row. Realistically, having a number one in the tournament makes a difference because that's a guy can go out there and lock one down for you. So he has to get back into form for me to have some confidence about this team moving out of a regional. But again, give them credit for going into Oxford. That's not an easy place to play by any means, not in recent history. And to be able to pull one off and not get swept there at Swayze Field.
Jeffrey Lee.
Kevin from Wilmer. What you got, big dog? Is that a question? Jeffrey Lee?
I think we may have lost him.
Got you.
Yeah, I think we lost him.
Jeffrey Lee.
Yes, sir.
Who will be the offense MVP the whole season?
That's a damn good question.
Jackson Arnold.
It better be, right?
Yeah.
If this season's going to turn out how we think it could, then yes, it's going to have to be.
But I mean, some other names popped up was Eric Singleton and Cam Coleman.
Cam Coleman.
But if Cam Coleman is doing what he should do in order to win the MVP, you got to think Jackson Arnold's probably doing it to some other guys as well. So you hope Jackson Arnold at the end of the year is your most valuable player on offense.
I'll talk to y'all later, War Eagle.
Appreciate you, Kevin. War Eagle, buddy.
Bye.
Great, just all around call. Baseball, softball, football recruiting.
Kevin touches all the good topics.
He does it all. He's versatile. He's a swing guy. Combo. Good stuff, Kevin. Appreciate you calling in, buddy.
3688. You're live. Who are we talking to? Where are you calling from?
This is Jonathan DeBow from Troy.
How about you, Jonathan DeBow?
Doing pretty good. How are y'all doing tonight?
Fantastic. How do you spell your last name?
So I'm gonna say it in phonetics. It's Delta Echo Bravo Echo Alpha Uniform X-ray.
That's exactly how I would have spelled it.
Believe it or not, born and raised right here in Alabama, down here in Troy. So
Okay.
Alpha Luigi Alpha.
Now, are you a Charles Henderson or a Pike Lib guy?
negative. I actually went to Goshen, one of the counties.
Okay.
Elba and Goshen, they've had some battles, man.
I'm from Elba, Alabama, and went to school at Troy for a little bit, so I know that area quite well, my man.
Yeah. I we weren't in the same region whenever I was there, because we were 1A or 2A, but we've definitely had some good games.
Jonathan, what's on your mind tonight, big dog?
What's that?
What's on your mind tonight?
I wanted to get y'all's opinion on the War Reports interview and then the next round's interview. On Coach Hugh Freeze I'm not going to say blunder or whatever, but it seems like you're getting a lot of grief from a lot of Auburn fans by, saying that seems like he said that he was okay with just getting the bowl game, 6 wins. I don't think that was his intention at all. I think that most head coaches are not going to want to put out there that a number to try to get to. I think it was just a bunch of coach speak. I want to get y'all's opinion. What y'all thought on that? I think he's getting a lot of grief for no good reason on that.
Alan, I think you had a post about this. Did you not? Was it that or the other one? He said was there hadn't been a top 25 class in the 4 years before he got to Auburn, which was completely erroneous.
It was. It was what I would call, Jonathan, it was what I would call a clumsy statement by Hugh. I think what he intended on the recruiting piece was, at least this is me trying to interpret, right, is that he didn't inherit what you would think would be 4 straight top 25 recruiting classes. And I put a post together where I kind of bared that out. And if you look at the number of blue chips that transferred out prior to his arrival, it was 17 blue chips that comprised those 4 classes. And you subtract those, none of those classes are anywhere in the vicinity of, top 25. Now, I understand that there are other schools that also had losses at the time as well, and you have to account for that. You can't look at it in a vacuum. But regardless, the point he was trying to make is the talent wasn't fantastic when he got there. In fact, I mean, in my honest assessment, I think Cole and I have both said that it was bottom end of the conference when this staff walked in.
For sure.
And I feel comfortable saying that with a straight face. The other thing I will say as far as Hugh's comments, I think people are allowed to interpret it in which way they want, right? I'm not going to tell people what to think or how to think. That said, that clip is not necessarily a full representation of what was said in that interview. I would encourage everybody to go to YouTube and watch the full interview. And in that interview, Hugh Freeze talks about expectations at Auburn and talks about how this staff gave away games last year because of not necessarily coaching guys to be able to make plays in critical downs, at times in the game, not executing special teams, things of that nature. All the things, if you want to see a coach taking accountability, he does all that. Now, the part that got clipped is one that's been sensationalized a little bit. And again, I understand it was definitely a clumsy statement by him, and you would have liked to have seen him say it a little bit differently. But I also understand what he was trying to say is, to me, again, this is my interpretation, right? Sure. Everybody else is free to interpret. He was basically trying to say we have to be better than we were last season. That was what he was trying to say. A bowl game, he didn't say what kind of bowl game. People have automatically assumed bowl game, that's 6-6. That's Birmingham Bowl. That's all he's got aspirations for. No. Guys, there are all kinds of bowl games, right? Technically speaking, the playoff, there are bowl games inside the playoff, right?
Yeah.
My guess is he was talking about we need to be an improved football team. We need to be playing in January. If he says it that way, it comes off a lot differently. But again, I don't believe his intention was to insinuate 6-6 is good enough. Well, it's not. He understands that fully.
I think what he was doing was putting a number on it without putting a number on it. In other words, this is an increment we have to make. We have to get over that hump. And Jonathan, what he's actually doing is the antithesis or opposite of coach speak. This is not coach speak. Coach speak is being very vague, like Gus Malzahn used to do. And I'm going to tell you something. People used to hate that. I'm telling you right now, if you're an Auburn fan and you have a problem with what Hugh Freeze said, you actually do like coach speak. That's what you prefer.
The word salad. Yeah.
You don't want to hear like truth. That's not what you're wanting to hear. Just don't lie to yourself. I mean, he's just telling the truth. And when it comes out weird, he doesn't think about it. And he's still not thinking about it. He's not reading the comments that people say.
No.
That's how he talks. That's how he's trained himself to be after everything he's been through. I have no problem with it personally. But, I speak in front of Auburn fans every day, and I'm telling you, if you're going to do that, you should be gravely concerned.
I didn't have a problem with anything he said. Like I knew what he was talking about. I didn't. The only thing that I was like was the 4 recruiting classes, and I was thinking you didn't have to say that. Like everybody knows. Like I don't think anybody has inherited a talentless group of players. Not even Pat Dye from Doug Barfield.
No, he had far more. Maybe Tubbs, because I
thought so too.
You know what I mean? What Tubbs got handed from the Bowden era, that was brutal.
Yeah. Those are the two. Those are the only 2 others I would consider and they may not even compare to this. Now, obviously, the transfer portal, you can replace that talent a lot quicker. But so I didn't have a problem with the bowl game, and I didn't have a problem with what he said, other than like, man, you didn't need like that's not true, but you didn't need to say that. Like I know what he's saying.
He exaggerated.
So anybody who got their panties in a wad about anything that they said, I thought was you probably wear panties.
Well, I mean, I just know
I didn't have a problem with it.
I know how it works because I can say something that I would never have thought there'd be anything wrong with it, Jeffrey, and we get pummeled for it. You know how many times that happened to you?
Yeah,
in this job, right? So it happens, and I'm telling you, coach speak was invented because of stuff like this.
Yeah,
coaches don't want to send the wrong message ever. But
he could have said, "We need to be improved. We need to play better. We need to be improved, and we need to play better."
Right.
And that's how we're going to do it.
He could have cut it off right there, but he doesn't do that.
Well, I was going to say that's your coach speak. Is when Gus goes, "Yeah, we need to be better this week. We need to be better."
No.
We need to win 4 more games we did last week.
What was it flying around out there?
Oh, they're flying around out there.
Flying around.
That was the one. There.
They're comparing it to when Gus said that they were solid, I think is the word he used.
Solid. You sure did, yeah.
I don't remember what the context was around that, but he said solid, and everybody goes, solid? What? Better solid.
I think the difference for me is Gus, when he said that, had been in the job for 8 years?
It was the wrong word. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah. It was clumsy, right? And
you described it perfectly. It was a clumsy statement, but he didn't need to say 24, 25, no top 25 classes. He didn't need to say that because everybody knows the talent was depleted. Like he could just say, look, but see, he likes rankings, man. He likes to say, hey, we need 3 top 10 classes, and we've got 2.
Yes.
We didn't have a top 25 before I got here. And I was like, you didn't have to say that. Like, that wasn't needed. Everybody knows how bad it was. Like, you did, but I guarantee you people are going to jump all over him because of it. But we didn't need to say that because everybody already knows.
Right. And
you could have just said, we didn't have shit here.
Yes. And this is where I do think Hugh tries to explain a little too much, right? It's not, it's him explaining his thought process, and it comes across a different way to people sometimes. And I get it, right? Again, people are allowed to think and interpret the way they choose to. Me having a little bit of knowledge of the situation is, I just think in certain circumstances, don't explain. Okay. Don't explain anything. You don't need to.
Like with Peyton Thorne last year.
Yes.
Well, that's what his PR guy's telling him that as we speak. Just say less.
Yes.
Calm down a little bit.
Right.
You got a little hyped up there. I know you're trying to make your case.
Yes.
And people believe you. But you can't be, you can't exaggerate. You got to be careful. You got to mince your words a little bit.
Yes.
But he's not going to. He's gonna hear that and go, yeah, well, I've had some trouble, and I'm gonna make sure I say what I need to say.
Sure, he's going to be the level of transparent he thinks he needs to be.
I do too. I have no problem with it.
Me too.
I don't love what he said. I mean, because I can see how it can be taken wrong.
Sure.
But I have no problem with the way he operates. In fact, I look forward to hearing him speak every single time. I never cared about hearing Gus Malzahn speak.
As I was going to say, covering Gus Malzahn in a post-comp, you knew exactly what he was going to say before he ever said it. And listen, that might be people might like that, but man, it's boring. You don't learn anything about him or the team and the situation. It's just vague coach speak that gives you nothing, no insight into what was the call or what happened on that play or how he's doing.
Sure. Jeffrey, I'm going to take you back for a second. I've been working on something on the side, but I remember you and I and Jay and Brian and BMAT doing a podcast directly after Kevin Steele was named the interim head coach. And remember, they had their signing day. And the first thing I remember you telling me before we taped was, God, it was so refreshing to hear non-coach speak for the first time in like 8 years, because Kevin was honest most of that conversation. Now we can debate Kevin Steele, you know.
Oh, he can give it to you now,
right? You know what I mean. But it was definitely a different. Oh, it was definitely different and preferred at that point, because you just had not heard straight talk in a while. And again, that's not me trying to bash on Gus. I feel like that's low hanging fruit to take a shot at Gus or Harsin at this point. That's like, if you're having an issue on a podcast, you know what to talk about, just mention Brian Harsin's name, and it's like the gift that keeps on giving. It just gets you out of whatever you need to get out of.
The thing with Tuberville is Tuberville would keep it on. Well, he would tell you, but you wouldn't know whether to believe him or not. You know, he would tell you something, you go,
You had to think like, all right, is he baiting me?
Yeah. So when he became a politician, I was like, dude was born for this. He's been politicking.
It made sense. He's
been politicking since Ole Miss.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not coming to Auburn in a pine box.
Not in a pine box.
Nice. Next day.
Did we lose Jonathan? Did he finish?
No, we did. I'm back.
Okay. Did that make any sense, Jonathan? I think we just rambled on for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, that was one of my questions I had. I had another question that I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
So, offensive line recruiting. I think next year we're going to lose our entire offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Manny and Nacho, I think I heard y'all say that pretty much if he was to come to Auburn, he pretty much would not completely be a starter anywhere, but he would probably push for a starting role.
Sure.
You reckon that that could be part of their pitch to him is, hey, we're losing our entire offensive line. I mean, if Connor Lew decides to go, we'd lose everybody. But you reckon that's part of their pitch? Is telling Manny that if he was to come, like, we're losing our entire offensive line. So, I mean, you'd have plenty of chances to start. What do you guys think about that? And I'm gonna leave y'all with that. See what y'all think about that.
Manny Iheanacho, for those listening, I think he's the number 2 offensive tackle in the country behind Jackson Cantwell. He's a 5-star. He is a stud. He's a surefire NFL guy. If he's not, something happened to him. Sure. Auburn was in on him early and had a little bit of momentum with him, but it's quickly faded. And the thing with him is that, and Auburn, I'm sure, did pitch that to him. I'm sure they're still trying to. They're going to try to get him back for a visit. I don't know if y'all have heard anything different. I just haven't heard his name and any buzz around Auburn.
He's set for a visit now. He just scheduled an OV with Auburn and moved him back into his group, I'm pretty sure.
Did he?
I was going to say, I heard a little buzz today, Jeffrey.
I hear you.
So
I did. I heard just maybe a little confidence that Auburn was in it. Nothing more than that. They're going to play the long game. Obviously, we didn't think they had a shot with Zion Ely, and he sneaks in for an OV. So
let's see here.
They've got a direct connection to these guys from the Maryland area.
Nacho.
To answer why y'all are looking for that, Jonathan's question, I do think they probably say that to him, but I also don't think they want a freshman starting at left or right tackle or whatever he's going to be. I really don't. I mean, we heard a pitch made to Rodney Cleveland today from Vontrell King-Williams or whoever told him, was like, look, if somebody's telling you need to come start, they probably don't have a good situation for you. I don't know if they're in a good spot if they need a freshman to come in and start.
June 6th.
Yeah, I just see 24/7 Brian Doan says he'll visit.
June 6th. Yeah.
Named Auburn his lead. I mean, named Oregon his leader.
Mm-hmm.
June 6th. Where are you seeing that, Alan?
On his profile on 24/7, if you go to his
Auburn made a big impression on Ian Nacho in the spring and secured an official visit for June 6th.
Yep.
Well,
so I think they're back making a move with him, but we'll see. I don't feel comfortable saying that Auburn's like truly in contention yet. We'll need to see what he says coming off the foothills of his official visit. But
I'll
Auburn,
tell you what, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it certainly has a need. It does when you look at the other schools involved. Excuse me. In that, when it's Oregon, LSU, Penn State, Auburn, NIL is going to be a massive factor for him. But
it is.
It is going to be a massive factor. So you have to beware on that one. But hey, again, it's not to say that it's not doable.
I'm just going to tell you, it's just my philosophy on this. Like we all feel pretty confident NIL is going to play a big factor there.
Yes.
Okay, what if you made that pitch and got on page with everybody else who's going to go that far?
Mm-hmm.
And then you lose a guy like Deron Parks because of it, or you lose a Wilson Zierer.
Yes.
Because of it.
You're getting it, yeah.
That's not a good trade-off, in my opinion. I don't care if he's a starter or not. You have to continue to build the depth. And Auburn had 3 guys on campus that are highly wanted. I think Auburn's going to be eventually fighting Ohio State for Deron Parks. Everybody for Dominic Harris, apparently. Oregon. And Dalton Toothman's getting more buzz from new schools. I mean, look, I think you've got a pretty good base right there. If you can get 3 of those guys or some of the others coming in, Wilson Zierer is another one. Obviously, he was an OV to Georgia this past weekend.
Correct.
Do you really want to sink your boat into that? I mean, look at what Maryland's doing with Zion Ely. That's going to hurt them with others. They're not going to be able to dish out what they need to if they keep on pushing up Zion Ely's because he's taking OV to Auburn.
No, I mean, I agree, Cole. And the thing with offensive line to me is that is easily the hardest evaluation, in my opinion, because it is such a developmental position. And so I've always felt more comfortable throwing a lot of numbers at that position where you want to recruit 5 to 6 every year because you just don't know who's going to pan out. You honestly don't. Now, I would tell you that 24/7 on 3 rivals, everybody else has gotten much better at hitting on their 5 stars. You saw that play out in this past year's, like Will Campbell, I think, was a 5-star, a handful of others that went high in that draft. But there were also some 3-star gems, guys that were unranked. I mean, who was it that went in the first round? It was like from North Dakota State or South Dakota or whatever it was.
Yep.
So there are those guys too. Again, it is a highly developmental position. I think the better play for Auburn right now, given the amount of offensive line that you're losing, is to concentrate on what you're trying to bring in as a whole, and getting to that number of 5 to 6 is what is essential. Now, do you try to pony up on a guy like Claude Mpuma, an emerging prospect that is highly regarded? Maybe at the end, sure. Yeah. But I'm with you, making sure that you keep Dooley Pritchett in the class, getting a Wilson Zierer, getting a Dalton Toothman, getting a Deron Parks, building the base of that class with some really quality prospects. They're going to take some time, but have the kind of clay for each of those to find their way onto an NFL roster at some point if everything comes together. So to me, it's not worth emptying out your bank account for Emmanuel Iheanacho, though he would be a prized piece of that class if that's the route you choose to go.
Yeah, but I'm with you. But, you know, some schools are willing to do that.
Sure. I mean, you saw it. I mean, it's paid off some for Colorado with Jordan Seaton. They did that with him a couple years back, and he's now going to be a 2-year starter for them. Probably will be a 3-year starter so long as he doesn't get an injury and then move on to the NFL. But I do think it's hurt their line as a whole, even though they've got that premier piece as a left tackle.
I think there's probably a time and place to do it. If you're trying to replace your entire offensive line, I think you better hold off for the portal a little bit. You better wait and see what's there, just in case you don't have everybody coming up that you want to start. maybe you can upgrade. That's the way I see it. And for your point there, I did the hit rate on the 5 stars in the 1st round, and they're hitting on that. It's not that hard to look at a Jackson Cantwell and Emmanuel Iheanacho and go, yeah, you know what? I think that might be a 5-star. What's hard is to find a guy that's 250 pounds right now.
Sure.
And say, I can tell right now that guy's going to be a 1st rounder or a 2nd or a 3rd NFL player. That's where it gets hard. And that's where Auburn is going. We're going to offer Dominic Harris, and it's met with criticism. Here we go, offering another unranked guy. Is now wanted by everybody.
Sure. Well,
same thing with Dalton Toothman's getting it. Deron Parks. You can name a lot of guys.
This is what I love about this staff that Gus's staff never did, right? They cultivate a wide board, and they are willing to offer prospects early and cultivate and develop those relationships. Gus kept such a narrow board that when they missed on their top end target, they didn't have this fallback guy to go to. With Auburn already prioritizing a kid in Dominic Harris that has all the measurables that some of these other kids do, you're well ahead of some of these schools that are jumping in now trying to offer him. Now, that doesn't mean that Auburn's going to land him. But I love the approach of cast a wide net, develop relationships with 10, 12, 15 offensive linemen that you feel like you can pick from and kind of go down a layered board somewhat, as opposed to we're going to concentrate on these 5, and that's the only 5 we're going to go after. And then God bless JB Grimes, you're going to go fishing for whatever you can find left, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking back over Iheanacho's. So at the end of April, he didn't mention Auburn. And then 3 or 4 days, and even Wiltfong was like, this has been a fluid recruitment. One source believes LSU is now in the top 2. But anyways, my point was June the 6th, he previously had an official visit scheduled to Alabama.
And dropped it. Yep.
Okay, he dropped Alabama and put in Auburn.
Yes.
Wow, that's a big deal. I'm gonna see if I can confirm that on my end. Not that I doubt anybody, but I'm not going to use somebody else's information.
Absolutely not. Nor should you.
Good stuff. Good stuff, Jonathan. I was out of the loop on that one. I don't believe he ends up at Auburn, but who knows?
No, I mean, again, half the battle is getting him on campus.
Absolutely.
Seeing from a
Damn sure
relational,
you're not going to get him if you don't get him on campus.
correct. From a relational standpoint, you still have to see if this person is a culture fit. They can be a phenomenal player, and if they don't fit into the construct of your team or mesh with the culture of your roster, then most of the time coaches are going to kind of push away from that recruitment. So you got to get a feel for that, and then you can get into all the exterior parts of a recruitment. And by exterior, I mean NIL conversation.
That's one of those where, and I don't even know what the June 6th, if that's the day, what that day looks like for official visitors. But I would think you don't want another offensive lineman there when you have him there, because if you think he's going to be that hard to obtain, you don't want to waste your time there while you have a guy that is obtainable on campus for an OV. That's just the way, again, my philosophy. I don't know how they're going to go about it.
2 OTs right now scheduled to come in that weekend, Cole. Your boy in Puma.
Yes.
Puma.
I'm telling you right now, there's no way. Just me. I will get killed for this on the boards. I can't wait to hear all this stuff. I am not wasting time with Iheanacho if I got him Puma there on the same weekend.
And you've got Gavin Meyer. Am I right on that, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
I don't think he probably won't come in.
Whoever that guy is. Minnesota commitment from Wisconsin.
He was an early offer. I remember Cole had a piece on him where Jake had reached out early on that one. I haven't heard much on that since he set his OV.
I don't think he's coming in anymore. We'll have to check on that this week, but he committed to Minnesota. I think that's probably done.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I don't mean to be harsh like that, but dang, if I'm going to miss my chance with the guy that I think is obtainable, to mess with a guy that I think ain't going to end up at all.
Well, the difference is with Iheanacho, you're probably, you've moved up the board, because obviously if he, in fact, has canceled his Alabama OV and put Auburn in his place, that means something. But with Claude Puma, is it Puma? Isn't that right? Isn't the M silent?
Like the shoes.
Yes, let me say it correctly. So Claude Puma has a top 3, I think, of Auburn, Nebraska, and Florida. So you have to like that matchup a little bit better, top 3 versus bottom end of his top, Iheanacho's top 6 or whatever it is.
Oh.
Do we want to take any questions from the chat?
Cover. Big, how about you out there to Shane and the boys in lockup?
Yeah.
Lockup. I was going to see if which 3 players lead the team in sacks this year. Shit, are there 3 people?
Keldrick Falk, Kieron Crawford.
Malik Blockton.
There you go.
Mm.
I'm gonna give me some interior pass rush there.
Ooh. What about a DeMarcus Riddick?
That's.
Oh, that makes a ton of sense.
I was thinking linebacker too.
Because it will be
Xavier Atkins going to be in that Eugene Asante role.
Yeah.
He could be a guy.
sure. I think Riddick. That makes so much more sense to me now.
What about Chris Murray?
You know, I've heard some decent things about him.
I've heard a lot of good things about Chris
Yeah.
Murray. We just don't talk about him for some
Right.
reason.
Do you think he's going to play? What's the split in snaps going to be with Murray and Crawford? That's the big thing to me.
Yeah.
Is he going to have the number of opportunities you need to be the third sack person on the? You know, I mean,
Is Kieron going to get 2 snaps to every one of Murray?
that's what I don't know right now.
So the last time that Rock Bellantoni was the Auburn Edges coach, Derek Hall had 9 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Eku Leota had 7.
Dang.
And Kobe Wooden had 4.5.
Wow.
You
I
also
think
had
that
TD Moultrie on that team who was playing edge, who I think missed a few games for whatever reason. I don't remember why.
now Rock was the analyst on that one. That was actually Burt Watts was the outside linebackers coach.
No,
for
that was
team.
Rock.
What?
Yeah. Bellantoni was the now look, who knows who coached that position, because you and I and everybody else look is the dirtiest secret in all of college football. If your tag was analyst, dude, I don't care what you said you were coaching at practice. Okay.
I think
Let's
you're
just-
right about that. So Rock was 2022 because I was looking at 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got the promotion because
Yes.
of Derek Hall and those guys on their way out.
Correct. For
Well,
all
in that case,
Yeah.
your 3 were Derek Hall,
Yes.
7 sacks, Kobe Wooden at 6, who played
Yes.
edge 2,
Yes.
and Owen Papo,
Yes.
Oh,
2 sacks.
No, Derek Hall gives a ton of credit to Rock Bellantoni for his development at Auburn and his coaching style and how he prepared him for each game. So,
He does.
and I can't think of a better representation of Auburn than Derek Hall. Like if you know what I mean? If you want an ideal image of somebody to rep your school, that's Derek Hall, and he just raves about Rock. So I can't disagree with him on that.
Rock produces. That's the hashtag.
Yes, it is.
Rock produces. I'll tell you what, we're going to produce. We're going to go in depth on this recruiting weekend a lot more on our recruiting show this week. So y'all be on the lookout for that. We're going to take questions from the corner. We may not even have to do that. I don't know. We've got a lot to talk about. Maybe we will.
I think we can probably cut it to like 5 questions, right?
Yeah.
And then comb through the official visitor list.
Yeah, because this next weekend is, like I said, it's going to be dead with Memorial Day. So we'll have a little bit of extra time not to have to preview ahead, but we can all look back. We can talk a little bit more about Zion Ely. Hopefully, we'll know a little bit more about Iheanacho as well. I think that's it's worth a little bit more of a discussion. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But don't forget, if you're in Auburn, Opelika, Lee County, looking for some real estate help, give her a call. Jessica Andrus with the Talents Group, 334-704-4442. Tell her we sent you. All right, fellas, let's wrap it up. We'll kick it back Tuesday night or Wednesday night. We'll talk about that and let everybody know what we're going to do as far as recruiting goes. We're going to get a lot more in depth on that this weekend. Coaches are back on the road this week. We'll see how the baseball team does between now and next week. We'll also need to talk about next weekend if we'll have the show.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody's going to be in town, not with family. We'll put out An APV.
We'll hash it out in the private chat. Yeah.
All right, folks, that's going to do it, man, for this week. We'll be back next week unless otherwise noted. Look for us next week. For Go Pinkston, for Alan Head, for Zach in the back who stayed in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay in that left lane. See ya.